Hey, what's up? It's Karabo. We are here taking a shower. As you can see, I'm glowing or popping or shining. Moisture is all over my face and all over my neck. So praise God. Anyway, let's get straight back into it. Yes, of course, I re-wore the wig. Why wouldn't I? Where did I finish off? You know, when I tell these stories, I get slapped with such a bad case of nostalgia. Yeah, guys, it's a recreational dating. And just dating without actually being sure if this is leading to marriage, not walking in courtship. It's dangerous because it exposes you to so many men as a woman that you sometimes fall very heavily in love with. And believe it or not, whether you like it or not, feelings never really end. God created things in such a way that feelings should not really end. They don't end. It's just that people sin and people insist on creating out of other human beings obsolete souls. People believe that they can just write off human beings because they get older or whatever. But you know that this is not even a thing. When you meet your ex at a grocery store or whatever, and then all of a sudden, feelings just come rushing back again. Feelings just there is this song, Janet Jackson and John Legend, frankly, and both songs, be they secular or not, are accurate. And they ought be a very poignant warning to not recreationally date as young people, but rather just literally wait on God so that you can end up with your wife alone. And God has created things in such a way so as to make doubly sure that it is possible entirely for us to love our spouses from the beginning of time to the end of time. For us to love our spouses from the moment we meet up until the death of us all, right? Literally till death do us part is entirely possible. The human race, because of sin, has made it such that it is apparently unfeasible to love a person for life. No. So with me, whenever I talk about my ex and what he did to me, basically just having to reminisce, kankane, think about those times, kankane, stuff comes back. Affections, passions, longings, mercies, sorrows, grief. It all just comes back like it was literally just yesterday. And while I would never ever get back together with my ex again, every time I talk about him, something in me is triggered. Binaya Janet Jackson is that one that goes, I heard from a friend today and she said you were in town. Suddenly the memories came back to me in my mind. If you listen to that song, it's so true, constantly, all the time, with any guy that you've ever had very strong feelings for, and especially if you were together. It doesn't matter. You will never entirely just get over them, unless of course they're scary to you because they're abusive, unless of course they're scary to you because they almost killed you, you found yourself in hospital or whatever, and there's a lot of trauma linked to that. But for the better part of the time, if there was none such extreme event happening, you will have suddenly the memories come back to you in your mind. Yeah, John Legend. Game. I ran into you yesterday. Memories rushed through my brain. It's starting to hit me. Now you're not with me. I realize I made a mistake. So what can I do to feel right? Can I come see you tonight? Indeed, my ex felt like really and truly he was still in love with Pinky because they engaged in premarital things and never ended up together. So even when he was with me, every time he ran into her yesterday, memories rushed through his brain, started to a point where he literally made my life a living nightmare by struggling to just move on already. Okay, so stop dating haphazardly. Stop allowing crushes and feelings to develop into entire flourishing relationships that could be a marriage, and then next thing you break up because you are subjugating your spouse, the one that you will end up with finally. You are subjugating the man that will ultimately linger to the tyranny of literally spazzing over your ex next time you see him at the mall, especially if they look good. And this is something that I made a massive gargantuan discovery of maybe a year and a half after my ex and I were officially done. I was not going back. That's what's good. I was now born again as a Christian. I had convictions. I was not about to be with an unbeliever, and he had displayed that he doesn't even have interest in Christ, not together anyway altogether, because he was credulous, he was gullible, he was just being tossed to and from by every wind of doctrine, a professing Christian, but he was not about to go radical like I'm radical, right? And I saw him at the funeral of a mutual friend, the funeral of the dad, not a mutual friend, sorry, but a mutual friend's father. like the guy that I met him through, you know, my cousin's boyfriend's dad. You know, I told you that I met him at News Cafe when my cousin's boyfriend came to pick me and my cousin up, and he came with him. Yeah, that guy's dad passed away, and my cousin was still with him. It's still today she's married to the guy, right? So of course I went there to support, because these are my peoples and my cousin is my cousin. And my ex went because we were friends, and if anything, he knew him first before me, and he was there to pay his respects. And I was there with my mom because, you know, it was a family affair sort of kind of thing. I was already born again at this stage, like Christian vibes rolling around in my members. And I saw my ex, and guys, yes, like at that stage I was like, it's over, I'm done, I'm not doing this. Like I was not going back. I was not going back. And then he rocks up. First of all, okay, so him and his best friend, I was parked with my mom, about to get out at the church where, you know, the service was being held. And my ex recognized, I believe, there was no way under heaven that my mother would have ever traveled with my car. So I believe we were in my mom's car, and my ex recognized my mom's car and the number plate, and he told his boy he was the one that was driving, and he was like that, he probably noticed that it was his my mom's car parked right over there. And he slowed down to like basically look inside to see if it's indeed my mom, because it made sense that he would expect that I would be there, because, you know, mutual friend is grieving type establishment thing. And he saw me and my mom as they were driving past, right? Looked into the car. He was with his best friend, and at that stage we were not at enmity with each other. Like, we did not necessarily have a cordial breakup, but ultimately there was a closure session that we had where I was cordial, okay? And so we were basically on good terms, more or less. And here it is that we hadn't spoken for months on end, and he noticed it was me and my mom, and my mother was like, oh hi, you know, because he was my boyfriend, knew my family type setup thing. And I saw him, and I was like, hi Nonty. I called him Nonty, right? I was like, hi Nonty, guys. And as soon as I saw him, that big smile, he had, like, you know, he looked healthy, he looked alive and fresh. Like my heart just, like, everything just came back when I saw him. And I was like, no, that's not it. He is not the one. You are waiting on Jesus. This is not it. Don't let this pull you back in. Later on, after everything, you know, like the funeral that happened, and now we're just kind of hanging out at the guy's house whose dad had passed away. I thought he had left, this ex of mine, but he was not trying to leave because he wanted me back. And he came back, and this time around he had sort of kind of, you know, taken off his more formal gear, and he was just rocking like a plain white t-shirt and like these jeans and some, like, you know, just basic flip-flop with sneaker shoes. And he reminded me, like, on our first date, like, you know, the way I fell in love with my ex, but our first date when we connected, he was rocking jeans and these flip-flops. He had these like really beautiful feet and this like V-necked top, so simple. It was like a tannish brown top with some jeans and some flip-flops, and he was rocking like shades, like Ray-Bans, and he was just looking so cute there, chilling in the corner, waiting for me to meet him at the mall, right? No, he wasn't wearing Ray-Bans on his face because it was inside the mall that we met. They were in his he had sort of kind of hung them on his shirt, and he had this simple, really cute, it's like he was a dude on a holiday, beaching at the beach, basically beachfront side type thing, on just, you know, being really casual but looking really good while he was at it. He just looked so good. And for me on that day, I was like, okay, when I met this dude, it was at night and it was a party. Couldn't really see properly. I wasn't even sure if he was as cute as I thought he looked that night that I met him, but now I know he is. And he was all like nice and tall, because I'm tall, right? But I was wearing flat shoes. He's ever so slightly taller than me, and I was like, whoa, he's actually so cute. And yeah, whatever. And yeah, so that he looked exactly that way. He had that casualness to him, and it just brought back these memories of our first date. How it is that he was just looking so cute there at the distance, waiting for me to arrive to our date, go clear water. And he was basically now pitching, rocking up, looking exactly the same way that he did like 6 years ago when we went on our first date. And now we've been broken up like a year and a half, and it brought back everything. It brought back everything. It's like, you know, people say that when they die, there are people with NDEs who say that their lives flash right before their eyes. I can see how that would happen so quickly, because when you see somebody from the past, nostalgia makes everything just flash right by your eyes. So I believe the same experience as when when you're dying. More or less a remake of such a thing as that happens when you see an ex-boyfriend. When you see an ex, you properly remember all the good stuff and everything that they endured you through, all the rubbish. Yeah, it's just like, what? Rubbish for what? For who? What is rubbish? I don't even know what that word means. How do you spell it? Is it English? Yeah. You don't remember, conveniently, all the gangster gangrene that came out of that monstrosity. So here it is that I saw this dude first rolling on down the window with his boy as well, looking kind of awkward because he was among the people that broke us up, or that instigated our breakup. But like they were participants in the mutiny against my ex and he was looking kind of shuffling around uncomfortable because he knew I was not trying to get back. They were feeling sorry for him. They knew how much he wanted me back. Like, only after he lost me, after they basically got what they wanted, his boys were sad because they could not stand his sorrow. They could not stand his sorrow. Never mind his sorrow, but just of what he ended up doing, who he ended up settling for in the end, broke them even more, because it was like we literally regressed our boy back to the phase that he was in before he got made a better man by that woman. He was made better than that, and we took him right back to square one. It made them uncomfortable. It made them guilty. But would they ever confess? Dololo, never. Libala. So stop dollarizationing. When he rocked up, it welled everything back to me, but I made a decision that I'm not doing it. Like, proper. Even when I was going home, I was so confused. My family members wanted me to get back together with him. That's the thing. I was in Christ. He was still lost. Of course, the kingdom of darkness will try to reunite people together, to cause the person who is working for the kingdom of heaven to tarry back into the darkness. And so they were trying to confuse me. My mom and my sister were like on the phone on some. They still love each other. It's obvious when they see each other, like sparks still fly. And I'm like, sure, ngempela, still. But I'm going to resist the devil and he's going to flee from me. Lo and behold, after a couple of days, I got over it. My feelings welled right back up again, and I resisted until I was back into my, moved on state. Again, stop recreationally dating because you are subjugating your husbands to the tyranny of your nostalgia when you see an ex. And sometimes you bump into them years down the line after you all broke up and they still look good. And that's the thing about my ex. He still looked good. In fact, he was looking better now. Ale healthier. Now that I freaking made him a man that other women would want. Yeah, that's what's good. So stop dollarizationing. Even now, as I'm talking, it's like nostalgia is wreaking havoc in my life because I'm having to recall good times, I suppose, also, and bad. And it's kind of regressing me. It's regressing me. It's sending me back. This thing. And I don't want it to be a thing, but again, it's a testimony. I have to tell it. It might edify some people, and afterwards I'll recover, right? But I'm probably going to spend the next day or two really just thinking about that guy, and it's only because I'm having to resurface all the stuff to talk about it, because I've just recently I've been having dreams, and that's why I'm even doing this series, and I'm going to tell you what that is. The sooner we can just get this information out there, the better, because I really don't want to be here at 5 a.m. in the morning. So let's get to the point. The last series that the last video that I did, I was speaking about how basically my ex had cheated on me, right? And at that stage, guys, upon finding out that he cheated, it took me about 4 months to bounce back, recover, be normal with him again. I was very suspicious the entire time. I was dumb enough, however, to still continue to, have sex with him unprotected. Because here's the deal with my ex. The way he was so trustworthy in the beginning, I imagine that if he got busted cheating, that, if he got found wanting and basically was facing the threat of losing me, just the sorrow of the breakup and the sorrow of the potential for us to not be together would make him not do it again. I trusted that he wouldn't do it again, so I just bounced right. Literally, I took an HIV test. He took one too. We came out with a clean bill of health and just went right back on right ahead to trust the guy that if I had stayed with him, now I might today be a wife with HIV whose man brought it home. I was dumb. Anyway, whatever, moving on. I could not stop imagining my ex with other women. The women that he was with, that he cheated on me with. I could not stop blasting my brain with imagery of that nature, and it laid me prostrate for a good 4 months. I was inconsolable. I, in my life, had never been that hurt before. It is not like it was the first time that I had ever been cheated on. It wasn't, but it was the first time that I had ever been cheated on by a man that I trusted with my life. My other exes, I told you guys, we were just whatever. After 18 months of dating, I still don't know your surname. It was just a whack thing that I was doing with them. This is the first time where I had a real relationship that looked like it could lead to marriage. We could actually bear each other's silences. We could pee and poop in front of each other. We could, insecure with my body, with literally every guy that I had ever been with, okay? But not this dude. I didn't care about the stretch marks on my bum. I was so comfortable with this guy. I had never been like that. We were basically married, okay? I had never been like that with any guy in my life. It was a first. It was a total first. And so because it was a first, I let my guard down in a way that I just never did in the past. I always had room for disappointment. I had left it with other guys because they were obviously just kind of no-brainer. Like, it was never really too serious. So one dude didn't even know that I was smart. He didn't even know that I pretty much like could crack numbers at school. Like, I don't even know how in the heaven. Like, you hang out for 18 months with a woman that is that intelligent and you don't know because we barely spoke. But this guy knew that I was quite the wit. I was studying. I was an academic. He understood it. Like we often used to talk about when we have children and be like, I want our kids to inherit your mind because you're really smart. You're book savvy type thing. Yeah, that was my ex and I. We knew each other and we had a proper. It was normal. It was normal. It wasn't the whack little thing I was doing in my earlier years. So I had lots of trust. I had left little to no room for disappointment. And when he cheated, guys, I mean, I never knew such a pain. Like, I never lost a loved one to death that was still young, fresh, and had a vibrant life ahead of them. And so, frankly, it is the closest thing that I can compare the pain to. It's like someone died that I was very besotted with. The way this guy got thing, after his brother passed away from cancer, I used to force him every single month. Asabadly, sometimes, or unnecessary. I used to make him go for random doctor's checkups and spend money and everything to make sure that he gets screened for, cancer. So that should it get be in his body, it could get caught early, that it might get treated, that he might live. I could not fathom the prospect of losing him. Guys, my ex, I don't know how many times I basically threatened to leave him because of dangerous activity. This guy, I would have lost my mind. Like, idolatry, it's a real thing. Yeah, that guy was probably my idol. Like, he was my idol. I was worshiping all up in that gang. So that's what I was doing. So it is no wonder the Lord rescued me from out of there. Anyway, whatever. So, it laid me prostrate, flat. I was barely recognizable, inconsolable for 4 months, proper like somebody had died. And in that time, I still hung out with him. We still spent time together. But the devastation was so real and so poignant and so severe. And he saw it that he calmed down like for 5 seconds. So during that time, right, I told you that he had already started to treat me like a monstrosity. Like, it was weird. He had already started to listen to his boys, allow them to change his mind about what he's doing with me. And he was also busy with this, not busy, but this other woman, all that wreaked havoc in my life, right? Yeah, I did let you guys know that this woman, sometimes he would not deliberately not tell me whenever he'd go somewhere where she would be at. It's not like he would be going out of his way to meet her, but because she was part of the circle of influence that he had come out of from the past, sometimes she just happened to be at events and stuff. And every time these events would come, while my ex and I used to go everywhere together, he always conveniently never used to tell me about them or left me out in a way that was just for me very, very saddening, because I would put 2 and 2 together and know that, it's because this woman was there. So I never really was sure if he ever cheated on me with this woman or if he just did not want to upset this other woman. Either way, with my presence. But either way, for me, it was like, if you don't want to upset this woman with my presence, whether or not you cheat on me with her is irrelevant, because you are still trying to protect the heart of a woman that's not yours, not in your life. She passed you up and it is at my expense. I had such a bone to pick with the situation, such a bone to pick. And in this season, in this little era of my devastatedness, basically, from finding out that he cheated on me, right? It probably would have crushed me to a million pieces if I had found out that he cheated on me with her in particular. But it was strange other women, right, that I learned of. Because I guess it makes a little bit of a difference when you cheat with some one night stand versus cheating with someone that you had some real feelings for. If I had found out that he cheated on me with this other chick, angazi guys, ngifila ngathi da mekuzobhoda umuntu. I don't know. And that means I feel like somebody was gonna die. Anyway, whatever, but let's not get extreme, right? So I never ever busted or caught him cheating on me with this other lady, but I always had suspicions that it might have happened anyway, and I'm gonna explain to you why I say that, okay? Yeah, no, that would have laid me prostrate. I think that's why God never let me find out if at all it did happen. So yeah, so here it is that I'm all broken, barren, and devastated over what my ex is doing, and I'm struggling to recover. And my struggle to recover put quite a heavy strain on our relationship, right? Remember, my ex had lost his brother, so already he was doing strange things as well, in basically reacting to the loss of his brother. But he had already started acting a fool. He was starting to sort of kind of abandon me. I got a promotion, right? I got another job, so I was no longer working in the same general metropolis with him, like the Braamfontein. Now I guess go Pretoria, Hatfield. So we started to see each other less. We were no longer seeing each other daily, but he was still working in the same company, right? We were no longer seeing each other daily. So we really needed our weekends. We did. And the job that I got, I was working for Nedbank as a trainer, a facilitator. I told you my career skyrocketed quite hectically. I moved from a call center to being a trainer. Anyway, whatever. So this job required me to travel quite a bit out of like town, right? Like other provinces and what have you, to train, to teach and whatnot. In the bank. I was, at Nedbank, like I told you. This meant that, I would have to leave to go to like Middleburg or something. Go to Mpumalanga, go wherever. Like KZN, I would have to travel to these places the day before Monday, the day before the next, because I would have to be, of course, like, rock up for the training session in the morning from the city already. I cannot be, taking an airplane in the wee hours of the morning in Johannesburg, hoping to make it on time at 8 a.m. Like, go the site where I was training. So I had to travel the day before. And my ex and I relied on weekends because we didn't have our own apartment. I didn't have my own place. I still was staying at home with my mom. He did not have his own place. He was still staying at home with his parents. So we could not spend during the week together. We could not spend time together when it was, convenient for us to do so. We literally leaned on weekends to book into hotels. We used to book into hotels on weekends, like I made mention of that, right? So if we did not spend the weekend together, we don't see each other. All we have is the phone call, right? He also stayed really far, didn't have his own car, so he couldn't even check on me during the week, right? Yeah, so we needed the weekends. House on fire relationship during the week, spend all day talking, all day texting, miss each other like no man's business. So we have to see each other on the weekend. We do. When else are we gonna do this, dude? 2 weeks is literally too long. We were too tight to be those kinds of couples that only see each other every second week or 3 weeks, or even call each other every second day. It was all day, every day. We were basically, like I said, we had married couple type vibes. Okay, here is this Okie. With this understanding, I've got this new job. I'm traveling. I have to travel sometimes. I'm not always in Pretoria, which if I'm in Hatfield, I guess we drive from my mom's house and we're at work. Home run. But if I have to travel out of the province, then dude, you have to be with me all day long, up until the time when I have to drive to the airport, or up until the time when the taxi is collecting me because I'm not using my own car, or all the way up until the time when whatever, right? At that stage, he had not yet gotten his driver's license, so he could not drive me there and then drive my car back. This guy, he started to just taking a person for granted. Even when I was teaching him how to drive, I did like proper. I taught him how to drive. I remember one time telling him, using my mother's car driving, I was like, I can't teach you how to drive using my mom's car because it's her car. But with my vehicle, you can drive it as much as you want, because then if you crash it, it's on me. And on top of that, I'll be able to claim from insurance. And his response to that was, hey, baby, you really love me, hey. And I remember just thinking, yeah, I do, but you just said that almost as if though I'm whipped. Like, dude, stop. Like, what do you think this is, a one-way trip? Like, he saw how much I loved him and stopped basically pulling his weight somewhere along the way. He knew that I loved him so much that the initial threats to dump him and stay gone, he used to believe them in the beginning, until he was like, if she dumps me, I'll let her cool off for 3 days and she'll be fine afterwards. That's how much he trusted I wasn't going anywhere. And to a certain extent, he was right. I wasn't ready to leave. I just loved him too much. Anyway, whatever. So when then I got this job, go Nedbank, and on the weekends when I would have to travel, maybe from 5 p.m. or whatever, to make my way to not the bus station. Well, if it was the airport, it was usually earlier than that. But if I used my car, I would wait, guys. I was putting myself in danger, frankly. If I was driving all the way to Middleburg, it's only a 3-hour drive. I should have more than preferably driven when the sun was still out, because the roads can be super dark and there are no lights and everything. But I would insist on like literally leaving Johannesburg from like 5 p.m. and I would get there and I would drive in very dark roads that were kind of scary for me. And I did this because I wanted to spend time with my boyfriend, like, because that was the only time that we could be together. Weekends, like I said, right? And again, when you have booked into a hotel, you don't want to waste your money, type thing. So you linger the experience. That's what's good. So here it is that I've got this job, and I told my boyfriend, okay, I've got a new job, blah blah, this is what's going on. He's, congratulations baby, good, whatever. I thought my ex would realize that now, things are going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be able to, because how we used to do these hotels, we'd book into the hotel all weekend from Friday, and we would go to work from the hotel on Monday and then part ways there that way, right? Go to the office each. That's how it used to be. So this time around, it meant we'd have to check out on the Sunday morning, right? And spend the whole day together, maybe at my mom's house just chilling, and then I would then drive to where I go, and then he would take taxis and go home that way. I thought he would understand that that's what we now need to do on the weekends when I would have to drive to another province. And despite the fact that weekends were the only thing that we had, and I no longer worked in his hood such that we could see each other daily, he nonetheless sometimes just disappeared on me from Friday, meaning that now we are not going to spend the weekend together. He chose not to hang with me, and it's just, I was like, what is this? What's going on? His phone would just die. We would like, hey guys, I would try and call, and this guy would not answer his phone, meaning that like yonke weekend and I'm just sitting in one, and I will only see this guy or hear from him probably on Sunday evening when I'm answering the phone from the B&B in Mpumalanga or whatever, and we'd be like fighting. Why didn't you call me? What happened? And then he would come up with excuses. No, my phone was lost, this and that, my boy that, I'm so sorry baby, no, I miss you, I really wanted to spend time with you, I wanted to let you know, but and Nami, like, not that I was dumb, and I would be angry, and I would like hang up on him and get feisty. But then after 2 or 3 days, especially considering I was in this cold, random, strange city I don't understand with barely any infrastructure, I got homesick. And so after like a day or two of being upset, I would like, just to gain comfort and feel like, I have a sense of home again, we would go back to talking, and he would like be all apologetic. And now he's all sober, it's during the week, he's at work too, so we'd be chatting on email all day long, and I'd just like overcome and get over it. And indeed the next weekend he would do better, and we would spend that time, and I would forget for like 5 seconds, and then 3 weekends down the line, same stunt. Guys, it got to a point where I was like, I don't know what to do. And like I said, my relationship with this guy was supposed to last literally just 6 months, because it was from the 6-month mark when he started to act like a total fool. I was only in honeymoon mode for 6 months with him, and yet it lasted a good 4.5 years longer. Because the sad thing about women is once they've fallen in love with a guy, it's so hard to win them. But once they have fallen, it's so hard for them to get out of a toxic situation in a way that men just are able to sever themselves. Tinas wazi once. So women, you should probably be a lot more gradual in falling in love than men, because once you are in love, you are going to be dilly-dallied and danced around on the head of, like, quite frankly, indefinitely, if the dude takes for granted that we are mtanda. It's like they chase you to love them, they pursue you lovingly and longingly until you are besotted, and it is at that stage that they then start to like basically drop the ball. And this guy dropped the ball and never ever picked it up again, like ever. MRI held on. Anyway, whatever. Now that I'm telling the story, I feel like I was so dumb, but at the time I thought I had this, because I had transformed him enough to make his mom not expect me to scrub pots when I am at the house. So I was a new thing that was different, and I imagined that he would see the glory and the value of what it is that I was, that his family saw. I imagined that a man that like counseled on for my favor by every person in his family, well, most, I imagined he would not drop that ball. It's so hard for women to win the favor of men's mothers, guys, because men and their, like, mama's boys, men and their boys. If you can win a man's mom over, like, it's what do you do on that day when you are messing up? Exactly. Because a man's mother can be the bane of a woman's existence if she does not like her. And this guy, I had won his mom. So I imagine that he's gonna do right. He's gonna do right. Hey, yes, naivety. It's a disease, you guys. It's a disease, and it's a killer disease. It's terminal, frankly. Like, yeah, it's metastasized already. Anyway, whatever. Cool beans and banana. So that's what was good here. So that's the thing that this guy started to do to me, right? But because of all the sorrow that I endured, because of all of his, like, the finding out of the cheating, he definitely did calm down. In particular with the woman, the Jezebel, the female that was the bane of my relationship's existence. He put her in her place. He told her, like, he kept, like, every time she would call him on some, yeah, I want this, yeah, I want that, yeah, I want whatever. He made it clear and just kind of put it out there in her general growl that my girlfriend is not going to be happy with that. And that for me was sort of kind of comforting, right? It gave me a false sense of security because I was like, okay, he saw how he hurt me and he saw what it did to me. So cheating is not my issue right now. I'm just struggling with Tabare. He's kind of rebellious in light of our time that we spent together and also his friends. You know, he's like messing up. He disappears with them and does not come back. So his friends still had a heavy influence on him, but this other woman didn't. However, that other woman temporarily only calmed down because it angered her. It agitated her that my boyfriend kept on basically rebuffing her or snuffing her, telling her, I am in a relationship and my girlfriend is not content that I should be buying you fascinator hats for the Durban July this year type thing. I still did not get the fullness of joy that I needed in this ecosystem because on this other side, he was still ransacking the living daylights out of me. He started to drink in ways that were very disquieting, like heavily, right? And I do believe it was a reaction to what in the world under heaven happened with his brother. He started to do that, and when he was drunk, he was slurring, he was staggering about, he was no longer able to hold his liquor, and it caused me to be like, I can't do this. I basically, after that 4-month season of suffering literally a little too much at my boyfriend's hands. Yo, my ex. Yo. Yazi, before we even get to the whole drinking thing, we'll probably talk about that in the next part. I remember one time when I was driving out of the province on a Sunday, and I was supposed to spend all weekend with my ex, and I didn't have money. I needed him to loan me money, not loan me, give me money, right, in order to fill my petrol to full tank, because somehow I failed to plan properly and I had to drive all the way out of the city, right? I needed a full tank of gas, and he was the only person that I could think of to basically ask to hustle for me to get this money. And I had asked him on pretty much Friday, like before we were supposed to be together on the weekend, right? I contacted him and I told him, I was like, I need help. I need, like, my full tank at the time was like 500 rands, like proper good old days. I was like, I need about $500 because I have to travel all the way out. And he was like, yeah, sure, no, I got you. And then he disappeared. He like freaking made like Houdini and disappeared. And I texted him all weekend long. I was like, my goodness, dude, are you gonna leave me out on a limb stranded like this? My mom can't help me. She doesn't have the money. My cousin doesn't. Like, I'm leaning on you. You're my boyfriend. Where are you? Come on. We were supposed to spend the weekend together. Oko guy, where are you? And he spent the whole weekend in a drunken stupor at this friend's house, the one that stayed close to Rubens Valley, the one that he cheated on me in the house of. Yeah, he was there, and he was drinking himself like to a stupor the whole weekend. And it was only I had been sending him text messages all weekend, and back then it was one of those text messages that you could tell if a person has read them or not. He kept on switching his phone off and then switching it on just to read text messages and listen to voicemail, and then switch it off again. It's almost as if though his friend kept telling him, switch off your phone, move on, like just let her throw her toys out the cart. I don't know what I did to this guy. Like, he was such a massive instigator against me and my boyfriend. I couldn't understand it, but my ex had a conscience, and he knew that he had shattered me. He knew that he had devastated devastated me with the cheating at this guy's house. And so he kept switching his phone off just to see what's going on. And he had promised me, and he knew that he was not going to be able to recover from not helping me out in that way, from basically just bailing on his girlfriend who needed petrol money, for crying out loud, to get to Mpumalanga, for crying out loud. And so that was something that in his conscience, even in his drunken stupor, he just could not do. Like, it was eating him alive. So he kept on switching on his phone, switching it off, switching it on. And when then I would go into my phone and realize that the message is read, I would quickly try to call him and then would be off again. Yo, guys, the amount of tears that flowed that weekend, the way I just cried. And for the life of me, I did not know where I was going to raise this money. This dude. And literally at around maybe like 4:30 on Sunday, he calls me and he tells me, the whole weekend he was in my neighborhood. He was literally around the corner. And then he calls me, he's like, come to Sizwe's house and get the money. Guys. Yes, I could not believe the disrespect. I could not believe the disregard. I could not believe that this guy was doing this to me. I absolutely could not believe it. He calls me, he's like, I'm at Sizwe's, come get the money. He was so rude. Rude in a way that he had never been rude to me before. That was my first experience of such a whiff of rudeness coming from him. And when I buzzed at the gate at Sizwe's, Sizwe has the brazen audacity to be like, hello? Oh, okay, Karabo, come in. Don't talk to me, gangster. Open the gate. And then I find my ex waiting, stumbling, staggering, literally rolling over his toes outside of Caesar's apartment. And he just like literally staggers along to my car window and then gives me the money. Like literally just like that. Like to it, like he could have been a rag doll. The way he had no true mobility. It's like he had no bones, the way he was so drunk. He had never been like that before. He knew how to hold his liquor. And he just like gave me this like $500 while I was like, yes, I just looked at him with this rudeness. And when I tried to talk to him, he was like, just take the money. Just take the money. Almost, yes, I knew at that stage that I had to go to work. I can't argue. It's already late. Frankly, he's made me late because I would have gone a lot earlier if he had availed that money. I was spending all weekend trying to hustle cash, and I could not contact any friend that was able to give me that money, readily and easily. It was, one of those close to month end and everybody's broke. Yeah. And he hustled for me. He, in and of himself, he didn't have it, but he hustled it. And he gave me this money. And when I was busy trying to argue, he was so drunk that he was just like, take the money. Nenkari, he was gonna fall back and fall on the floor. I was so angry, and his rudeness was so astronomical that I literally told myself, let me let this go. Get that when I'm sober. I cried all the way there. I remember I was playing all throughout the CD Adele 19 Daydreamer sitting on a tree. Every time I listen to that album, Adele, the memories of that day come to me because I drove playing that CD on repeat for that 3-hour season on going to Middleburg, or was it Mpumalanga or whatever. Yeah, playing Pina King. What is this? That CD Adele. Is it 19 or 21? Adele 19 or Adele 21? One of the two. It was just on a loop, and I was crying the whole way to my destination. I was bawling. Yeah, let's move to the next part to just keep talking about this.